Calcutta Cup celebrates one of sport's greatest traditional rivalries. England against Scotland this year at Twickenham. Despite all the challenges, rugby's greatest championship is well and truly underway. Well, this is the second of 3 matches on the opening weekend. You may already have watched France kick off their championship with victory in Rome, 50 points to 10. Italy, their 28th straight Six Nations defeat. Their most recent win remains the one in Edinburgh against Scotland 6 years ago. So that is how the table stands. France getting the full 5 points. The third match of the weekend, that's tomorrow. Wales looking to exercise one or two demons of their own. A fascinating clash against Ireland in Cardiff. Well, this is the scene at the headquarters of English rugby. A very different scene to the one we're used to on the opening weekend of the Guinness Six Nations Championship. What a record Eddie Jones has in this championship. A Grand Slam in 2016, titles in 2017 and again last year. As for Gregor Townsend, he will be anxious to evoke in his team the memories of that remarkable second half comeback here 2 years ago. And there are the prizes. The famous Calcutta Cup you could see there. Well, if passion alone puts points on the board, then Scotland come here with a real chance. It's 38 years since the Scots triumphed here in the Calcutta Cup. They've suffered heartache along the way, none more so than on their last visit 2 years ago, when they led by 7 points with time up on the clock, only to see George Ford go in under the posts. This the 150th anniversary of the old rivalry, and the significance of that mark by special Scotland jerseys for the occasion. In fact, such is the attention to detail that the names of those who wore the corresponding numbers back in 1871 are woven into the fabric of the jerseys worn beneath those tracksuits, and they're being worn by today's Scotland starting 15. Cameron Redpath, the debutant here. Well, as pumped up as the Scots are, Eddie Jones was anxious to stress this week they don't have a monopoly on pride. The England coach has frequently stressed the long-term goal is to be the best team in the world. Over the next few weeks, it's about trying to be the best in the Northern Hemisphere. And Jones knows that if England are to do that, then they can't afford to get off to the slow start they did in last year's championship, when in the match in Paris, well, it was lost in the opening half hour. There are a few players here, including Ollie Lawrence, you can see there, who haven't played rugby yet in this calendar year, competitive rugby, that is. Well, you may have noticed the England players are wearing black armbands before the anthems. They and the Scotland squad will reflect on lives lost throughout the COVID pandemic, as well as those of 4 England internationals, and the man who in the last year became Britain's favourite captain.
To celebrate the lives and achievements of England Lions number 8, Alan Ashcroft, England lock forward, John Barton, England prop, Nick Drake-Lee, former England captain, John Pullen, former veteran of England lock, Bob Wilkinson, and the inspirational captain, Sir Tom Moore.
Well, there is no formal presentation of the teams. Before the anthems, the teams shall, as they did during the Autumn Nations Cup, stand together in solidarity and support of rugby's unity against racism.
United against racism.
So we now turn to the anthems and look towards the North Stand, a lone Scottish piper. Well, if it's half as good a game as we saw here 2 years ago, we're in for a cracker. Let's take a look at the teams. Well, Eddie Jones is without his first choice props, Marco Vunipola and Carl Sinclair. In come Ellis Genge, and there's just a second test start for Will Stewart. Another chance to shine for Johnny Hill at lock. With Sam Underhill injured, Mark Wilson comes into the back row. George Ford, he's among Eddie's finishers, so it's the captain, Owen Farrell, at fly half alongside Ben Youngs. Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade are the centres. Johnny May, Elliot Daly and Anthony Watson look after the backfield. Scotland come into the championship with injury problems at hooker, so it's a Six Nations debut for George Turner. The pack also features the Ferguson brothers, and it promises to be a lung-busting afternoon for Jamie Ritchie and Hamish Watson. England's loss is a game for Gregor Townsend in the back line. Cameron Redpath, once picked at all for England, follows the path of his father Brian with a debut for Scotland. Finn Russell prepares to wave his magic wand at fly half. Well, Eddie Jones said this week he expects the match to be decided in the last 20 minutes, which is why he stresses so much that it's a 23-man effort. He includes George Ford, Richie Gray and Hugh Jones are among the Scots held back. Well, we're almost set to go at Twickenham. Welcome wherever you're watching in the world. I'm Martin Gillingham, alongside me a veteran of 4 Calcutta Cup matches, the former Scotland scrum half Rory Lawson.
Yeah, good afternoon, Martin. It's fiendishly hard to decipher what kind of rugby will be served up this late afternoon here at English Rugby headquarters. Scotland arrive ripe with hope. Twickenham, a cemetery for many Scottish ghosts, and the defending champions will come looking to express their abilities and defend the title. No fans, but be in full awareness that this really matters. There will be huge intensity this afternoon.
Well, the referee, Andrew Brace, back here 9 weeks after being in charge of the Autumn Nations Cup final. England playing in white from left to right. The first ball safely into the hands there of Matt Ferguson. Price with an early touch of the ball, and here's a chance for Elliot Daly to warm his hands very early on. Out there from Ben Youngs, the first carry from Billy Vunipola. Back there from Youngs again. Youngs feeds the ball back. Farrell with a kick across field. Good positioning from Matt Ferguson. And Stuart Hogg didn't quite get hold of that one. Easy to gather on the half volley there for Elliot Daly. Youngs pumps it up in the air. Price underneath it. Being met there by Anthony Watson, who took a bit of a tumble. Two Ferguson brothers in the Scotland pack. Xander playing at tight head. Matt at number 8.
A couple of confidence-building early touches from Matt Ferguson as well. Has the number 8 jersey.
The charge down there from Itoje. Can Itoje gather it? He can. He needs the support here. Pressure being put there on Scotland.
That's the first action for him.
But England going off their feet, and it's Johnny Hill who got just a little bit too excited.
He got away with that one. Ali Price may well have got away with a little bit of an early tackle on Maro Itoje when he went through on that ball, but pressure from Maro Itoje at that ruck, climbing all over Ali Price, and it's relief for Scotland. It was a really interesting opening exchange, some nice touches from both sides. Obviously all of the rugby being played in Scotland's half, but here Scotland need to have blockers in place. I know an awful lot talked about the caterpillar, but there Ali Price just pressurised. His forwards have to do a better job, or rather he needs to get forwards in better positions to protect him there.
So first throw there for George Turner. That'll have settled his nerves. It went to hand nicely. Hamish Watson, who played every minute of Scotland's Six Nations campaign last year, really is an absolutely key figure. Finn Russell, well, his attempt at the kick through was charged down, but the referee was already playing an advantage.
Yeah, and he knew that. That was a free hit for Finn Russell there. The magician in the middle obviously grabbed the headlines all week long in preparation for this, absent from most of the 2020 season. But Scotland, a lot of the confidence that Scotland come down here with and from the fan base comes from the fact that that man is in the number 10 jersey. And encouraging first strike. That's a big hit from Ollie Lawrence in the midfield. I saw him warming up. He's a real athlete, comfortable on the ball, nice sidestep, but they are just showing his power in defence. But for Scotland, early penalty and the opportunity to build some territory and build pressure on the home side.
Yes, Eddie Jones referred to Ollie Lawrence this week as a project player. Doesn't like to talk people up too soon. I think the inference is that Ollie Lawrence has another opportunity to prove himself at this level. But it's George Turner there who's going to be easy to spot today with that red protective headgear. Tom Curry changing binds, he's penalised. An encouraging start for the Scots.
It's an area that Scotland have worked really hard on in that maul area. John Dale, the forward coach, has come in and made a real impact in there. You saw the momentum, Curry coming through in at the side, and interestingly Finn Russell turns down the opportunity to go at the sticks and goes for the corner instead. So early statement of intent by Scotland.
I thought it was good contest, but just
you just see here Turner at the back, Itoje in right at the front there, and there's a good wrestle, but Curry just changes his bind to get onto Turner. Can't do that.
Well, the first throw is important, it's more important still, and it goes to Johnny Gray. George Turner has it. It's certainly been a couple of confidence builders there, but the hooker, and there he is. He's so powerful in the loose, up to 3 metres. The alarm bell's ringing for England. Driven forward by Scott Cummings. Now, can Scotland take their chance? Barely 5 minutes on the clock.
Last feet, England.
There's Xander Ferguson. He has a go this time. Will Stewart protecting the fringes. That was an important tackle from him. Hamish Watson. Well, it's still there for Scotland. England defending it well at the moment, but Scotland get the penalty.
Euro K6 falls mark.
Good attack, patient attack from Scotland. Finn Russell has the ball tucked under his arm, so you never know what might happen. But again, big confidence builder for Scotland. That maul initially, and George Turner, you mentioned it, Martin, he's a real powerhouse, so dynamic. He'll have real confidence from hitting his man in his early lineouts. We're just going to see the replay here. Scotland hitting the middle or the back of the lineout, compromise that England defence a little bit. And coming through the middle, Turner decided to bust away. And from there, Scotland were patient in the attack, an area whereby in the red zone, Gregor Townsend will have put huge importance on coming away with points.
To speak with them also.
And Finn Russell does the duty, and that'll be exactly what Gregor Townsend and his players and coaches wanted. Coming down to Twickenham, first time they've gone into the 22, they come away with some points.
And England, as do all teams, talk so often about discipline. That is 4 penalties conceded by England in the opening 6 minutes.
Andrew Brace does like to keep things clean at the breakdown. He wants the teams to have the opportunity to attack. He's made that very clear. Itoje there, not getting out of the way, rolling towards Ali Price. You just cannot get away with that in the modern.
Oh, and he's done it again as Maro Itoje. Well, Ali Price has either got to vary his game or he needs a bit more protection there around the fringes.
What a pest Maro Itoje is. He is just an absolute nuisance. His secondary and third effort in and around that tackle, that breakdown. But you see, there's nobody protecting him. Xander Fagerson's got to do a better job there, or he's got to make the maul deep, the rock deeper, so that Ali Price has an extra metre to get it above. That man climbing all over Maro Itoje.
Well, George Turner's had a tremendous start to this match. Finding there Johnny Gray again. They've got to go through their exit processes now, have the Scots. Look at Itoje again there. He's got such a huge wingspan. And it's Price once again onto that left foot. That time it was Johnny Hill coming through. It's the big fellas who are keeping him very much on his toes there, the Glasgow scrum half. He's had a torrid start.
Tell you what, Johnny Hill wasn't far away from that one either. And Ali Price has found a good touch, but line out 30 metres out. England, first up, real opportunity to strike from set piece.
Here's Jamie George, one of those Saracens players who hasn't played a game of competitive rugby since that Autumn Nations Cup, right at the start of December, full 9 weeks ago. On there to Farrell. Bursting through there was Curry. Here's Ben Young seeing a gap, much as he did against Italy in that final game of last season's Six Nations. That ball had tried, this time it didn't, but England very much on the front foot early. Curry again, important first tackle, that time coming from Rory Sutherland. Chance to turn it over. Redpath puts it on the left foot, and look at Duan van der Merwe getting after it. But it goes to show you spill the ball and it can cost you many metres.
Yeah, Ben Young's one really good touch and then just a poor pass there. Didn't pick out his target man. And I think he was in 2 minds as to who to hit, and he ended up hitting nobody. Nice first touch for Cameron Redpath to scoop that one up and put it onto his left foot, his wrong foot, to find that touch there for Scotland. I think he would rather that had stayed and played. Duhan van der Merwe, I saw him warming up, is looking absolutely lightning. Scotland will be desperate to see him with ball in hand with a bit of space.
I've got that, mate.
Yes, Duhan van der Merwe, not just quick but big as well. 6'4" in the old money. Packs quite a punch. A man who was born in George. That's George in the Southern Cape of South Africa. Made his debut against Georgia. Taken forward there by another George, Jamie George. That's the halfway line. Young's with the box kick again. It's up there in age. Well, looked as if it may have gone into touch, but it hasn't, and away comes Scotland.
Still a knock-on advantage.
Referee playing a knock-on advantage to the men in blue. Finn Russell, that was cheeky. Here goes Cameron Redpath. What a start for him. Through 2 tackles, offloads it there to the full-back Hogg. Maitland taking the ball up to halfway. What a start this is from the men in blue.
Okay.
Well, that's good positioning from Ben Youngs, but the referee was playing an advantage.
14 offside. Yeah, that's one.
Well, we hoped to see more ball in hand, didn't we, Martin, than we did in the Autumn Nations Cup, and already we've seen the intent from both sides, actually. Scotland there capitalising, but Cameron Redpath showing real confidence, real belief in his abilities.
Yeah.
Again, first few touches in international rugby, that time they're getting away from the first defender.
10 just here, mate.
Came from a counter-attack from another Ben Youngs box kick, which was really good box kick, landing a metre in from the touchline. Duhan van der Merwe couldn't gather it first time, but from there Scotland looked to attack. On that occasion, again, another penalty, and it's this discipline, Martin, you talk about it, the discipline in and around penalties. It's not just the giving away of the penalty, it's the easy metres that the kickers can then eat up. You see Finn Russell from the halfway line puts Scotland onto the 22-metre line, and a prime spot to attack from.
George Turner getting his start here at hooker for Scotland, largely because of the absence through injury of Fraser Brown and Stuart McAnally. So important that he plays close to a full 80 minutes. There's Cameron Redpath coming on. A very interesting running line. Ali Price puts it on there to Duhan van der Merwe. Price just pops the ball up that time for Scott Cummings. There goes Zander Fagerson. Fagerson, who made his international debut in this fixture 5 years ago.
Just a little knock on there. You see Jamie Ritchie immediately hold his hand up. He knew that that ball was there on a plate for Ali Price, and he just put his right hand down. Knock on at the base. But what we're seeing here is Scotland.
Good guys.
You mentioned George Turner. He's hitting his line out, men, and from there they're shifting the ball away from that set piece and being able to generate front football quite easily. Cam Redpath came in a really good angle, and from there, as soon as the first phase is good, the English defence is struggling to find shape and get off the line. And that line speed that we've been so used to talking about with this English defence. On the few occasions Scotland have been able to build momentum and tempo in their game, the defence isn't necessarily set, so they can't get up with the same line speed, and as a result Scotland are finding some real momentum in their attack. They'll be disappointed that that one came to nothing.
And it's a penalty against Scotland this time.
I think Andrew Brace there is just saying that Zander Fagerson's feet got away from him. There he is there. Tight head prop, as it comes, he went straight to the floor, and a lot of the time if the scrum collapses, it happens fast, and it's whoever's arm hits the ground first that tends to get penalised. And you see there Zander Fagerson's feet, and it got away from his hips, his knees weren't underneath his hips anymore, and Andrew Brace gives an early penalty.
The England front five, not quite the frightening prospect they tend to be. Certainly when we get to the set piece, they're without, I think it's fair to say, they're three best scrummagers at the moment. Maka Vunipola, who's still struggling with an Achilles injury. Joe Marler, who ruled himself out of this season's Guinness Six Nations, and also Carl Sinclair, who is suspended. There's Youngs. Tester here for Sean Maitland, who's equal to it. He's met by Saracens teammate Owen Farrell.
A little bit lucky there. Farrell did well to strip it. Thankfully for Sean Maitland, Scott Cummings was there to be able to pick that up, that loose ball. Interesting to see England, though, again kicking from the halfway line. Huge onus on the territory, but they are giving the ball to Scotland.
Well, Johnny Murray, that's uncharacteristic, spilling that one. Will be a feature of this opening weekend in the Six Nations. Countless players having had relatively little rugby. There's no doubt that the cancellation of rounds 5 and 6, or 3 and 4 they were this season in European competition, a big hole in the diary for a lot of players.
I was happy enough.
Just saw Johnny lift his eyes there and saw Sean Maitland. I guess this is potentially something whereby the crowd not being here, you can hear the voices, you can almost hear the stomping of the feet coming towards you, and that one there, Johnny May, we all know how dangerous he can be. He has jet shoes on when he has ball in hand. On that occasion there, that's an uncharacteristic error from him, unforced error, under the pressure from Sean Maitland. Good box kick by Ali Price on that occasion. But Scotland, all of these little errors that they're managing to force from England will continue to build the confidence.
A lot of voices, okay? Just wait for my calls, please, that's all.
It is funny, isn't it, without the crowds, particularly in these little gaps in the match. You can just sense, you can hear all the voices down on the field and all the messages that are being shouted on from the touchline. It really is quite eerie in such a huge stadium.
How often do you hear visiting coaches say in the opening half hour, we want to silence the home crowd? I guess in that respect, the job already done for Gregor Townsend. And if you study the stats, and once again it's a penalty, and this time significantly in the set piece, forced by Scotland.
It's a good scrum by Scotland. It was a pretty even scrum, and then they just had that secondary shove that brought on the pressure, and it was Will Stewart went to ground under the pressure from Rory Sutherland. And again, just based on the momentum, you just see Scotland there. Sutherland, it may be that took that down, but I think Scotland with the momentum behind them, so many referees, that's what they're looking for. And Scotland get the advantage on that occasion. Few concerns around the discipline early doors, the variety of penalties being given away for England.
Well, Turner's confidence really growing. Straight over the top there to Redpath. Price has got it into his hands. Johnny Gray testing that white wall of defence. Turner. Ali Price, and Maro Itoje was in there, playing an advantage. It's come to the captain, Hogg. Here's Cameron Redpath, he tries to force the grubber through. Referee says the advantage is over. So Scotland backpedaling. Look at the white jerseys. Well, it's Tom Curry penalised. Yet another penalty. That's number 7 for England.
Yeah, that's just over-eager from Tom Curry. He did everything right initially on the chase through. Again, creativity shown by Scotland. Obviously a pre-called line-out, but Itoje just comes up off the line, blocks that pass to Xander Fagerson. Interesting that didn't seem to be given for a knock-on, which was very strange there. As it is, Finn Russell has again pinned England back, but it was a huge amount of energy coming from Tom Curry at that breakdown, but his second effort, he jumped back to his feet and he came in from the side of that ruck. Again, giving away that penalty, and that's where England are just struggling to find their footing in this game. Yes, it's only 3-0, but certainly possession-wise, Scotland have had the lion's share.
England not competing that time.
That's the line. And he's bound, that's fine. No offside.
Russell, that was well picked up. Stuart Hogg just picking that almost up on the pure half volley. Ali Price. It was Fagerson that time, Matt Fagerson. The little grubber through, and there's a chance here. It sits up there for Maitland. Maitland inside, and then just the hands were a little bit too keen from Finn Russell. How close was that to becoming a first Scotland try? Here's Hogg. Good step from the captain. Price. The cross kick, and there was Chris Harris out here, but in the end going innocuously into touch. Well, if we look at players, Rory, like George Turner, Cameron Redpath, early in their Test careers, have already made valuable contributions. Scottish confidence really must be bubbling.
Absolutely, you can hear it down on the field, the confidence that's coming, but it's coming from good decision-making, from accurate precision in the execution, and they're building momentum into this game. You know, a lot was going to be made of the opening quarter of this, and Scotland have had 70% of the possession so far, 65% of the territory. So Gregor Townsend will certainly be the happier of the two coaches albeit, you know, it's still a very narrow lead now and a long time in this game still to go. But he'll be hugely encouraged by the start that his side have made.
Well, that time it was put down by Matt Fagerson, and there are plenty of white jerseys out there. Henry Slade just having to reach behind him. Decent kick, that off his left boot. Here's Hogg from within the tram lines.
Good now.
That was a super kick. Daly on here to Farrell. He looks up, he sees space across the backfield, and that's a wonderful kick from the England captain.
It is a wonderful kick. It's a couple of really clever kicks, because actually from the high ball, Matt Fagerson spilt it, and the ball, there was an opportunity down the left flank, but Henry Slade made the decision based on the fact that England have gone without ball and without territory for a long time. Lifted his head and went to put it down in the bottom left corner. As it was, Stuart Hogg cleared well, but from there, Finn Russell couldn't cover that backfield quick enough. Farrell finds a really nice touch.
Yeah, no, that's over. Yeah, don't check, Joe. Stay.
Oh, the clearing kick not as good as Scotland would have liked, but I suppose to steal a phrase from a famous late Scottish commentator, that Scotland line-out, well, it's like picking chocolate out of a slot machine at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. John Dale will be happy with the precision so far. Johnny Gray, Scott Cummings running that line out well. You can just see Ali Price, though. I've been there before, whereby every time that you shape for a box kick, you know somebody's going to be climbing all over you. On that occasion, again, it was Itoje. Scotland did well to nick the line out. And again, they just want to find a clean exit from this area.
Stay.
How good there was Hamish Watson. He's not a big man, but he's one of those players who plays rather bigger than he is, if that makes sense. Oh, look at that. Finn Russell.
Interfering on an arm.
So we've just seen the two sides of Maro Itoje. He plays right on the edge, but he's probably given away 3 penalties so far this afternoon.
Oh, there's just too many penalties now.
Andrew Brace having words.
Okay, you need to have that word. Okay, yeah. 4 silly penalty. Just playing on the 9. In terms of the rest, well, it's multiple. It's multiple, yeah.
Owen Farrell saying, I know about that one, but about the rest. Well, the rest, it's a total now of 8 penalties. And that's why the warning has been issued. 8 penalties in basically the opening quarter of the match. That's 32 a game. I mean, referees are normally getting very upset if they're into double figures at the end of a match.
Yeah, definitely. You know, is it a little bit of over exuberance? It's the variety of the penalties that's the difficult thing. There isn't any consistency within there, and I guess that's where, for Owen Farrell, the challenge around leadership comes down to the key messaging. They've just got to try and be squeaky clean. But at the moment, that's not easy, because Scotland have the bit between their teeth. They're building pressure, building momentum, and sometimes you've got to give a penalty away to stop that.
Calm back there by Cummings. It's not tidy ball, but it's mopped up well by Hamish Watson. I guess the concern for Gregor Townsend is that despite the high penalty count against England, they do lead by just 3 points to 0. They've got to take chances. There goes Chris Harris.
Okay, 8.
The arm is out yet again. Well, I wonder what Andrew Brace might do about that, and that looked a little bit high as well. And there is going to be a yellow card, and it's being shown to Billy Vunipola.
And a high tackle here, yeah.
Something had to give, and it kept on coming.
Too many.
There was an offside in the midfield that he had his arm out for. That was definitely the easier position for Finn Russell to go over the post, but he's given that one around the yellow card for the high tackle from Billy Vunipola. And that's a big loss now for England. Their main ball carrier on the side, a man who makes a lot of tackles as well. It was a lovely ball from Finn Russell right across the face of the English defence. It's just lazy. That's lazy from Vunipola. What an opportunity for Scotland to strike here. 5-metre line out. 7 men in that England pack.
Well, the positioning of the penalty encourages Scotland here to be ambitious. It's with George Turner.
Keep it up.
Now, can the Scots get the choreography right here?
One stop.
England defending it well at the moment. Ali Price just looking for it. Look at Cameron Redpath. There's Redpath from a standing start. He presents it. Johnny Gray picks it up onto Zander Fagerson. Within 5 metres again, the Scots. Sutherland that time. Powerful drive around the blind side. Now Price on there to Hamish Watson. Watson just held up. Look at Jamie George.
It's short and it's on the line. I'm clearly there. So we're going strong. 5.
Well, it will be a Scotland put in. Jamie George in the end, I think, saved the try.
Scrum attacking clearly there.
Desperate defence by England, but they've managed to hold out again. Great attack against the grain there by Matt Fagerson, opened up the opportunity, and here's just a Hamish Watson. It's 2 tacklers on him, Curry and Jamie George in there. It was actually Ellis Genge in there, and then Jamie George came as the 3rd player to climb on top of it. Is he having he's having a break for an injury there, but again Scotland building pressure. It's an area that they've been so aware that they need to improve on, in and around that red zone, taking their opportunities when they come. Just so close on that occasion, but they will have another shot at it here, and this is a really important moment in the game for me. You know, it's only 25 minutes in, but you look at the 5 visits to the 22 there, only 16 seconds, mind you, but in and around it, Scotland will be desperate to add a 1 to that try stat at the bottom.
So real patience and wait for me, guys. Okay, water off. Let's go. Water off.
This is a tough scrum to defend for England with only 7 men in the scrum. There's a 15-metre blindside out. Sean Maitland will probably go on the far right-hand side and hug that touchline. Elliot Daly, you see, is now having to fill in opposite him, because I think Johnny May might well come in to join the scrum on the blind side. So there's a huge opportunity for Scotland on the open side there. Peter de Villiers, the Scotland scrum coach, he's added an awful lot since being added to the coaching staff, but key to get a strong platform here for Scotland.
Well, Johnny May filling in for Vinnie Vunipola. He's not much of a deputy in that role, if we're going to be honest. Well, Andrew Brace has called the free kick, but I suspect we will go through the same process again.
Okay, that's not what we agreed. Scrum called.
I played with Johnny May back in the Gloucester days, and I remember watching him once come on the blind side for England and bind on his loose head prop's left foot, which I don't think he was terribly thanked for. It looks like he was a little bit more comfortable in that number 8 position there, but he's probably like 50 kilos lighter than Billy Vunipola. You see again, just the chat around this, there seems to be a bit of uncertainty defensively as to what England are going to do.
Well, whichever way this goes, it's going to be a massive confidence booster for one side or the other. England will fail if they can weather this particular storm. Maybe they can weather any over the course of 80 minutes here at Twickenham. As for the Scots, particularly with that 1-man advantage, they know they have to make that count.
Come on, seconds.
Balance. Balance. Crouch. Bind.
Rory Sutherland on the loose head, up against Will Stewart. And it's a penalty.
Number 1 hinging.
And that time, Ellis Genge penalised over on the far side of the England front row.
Same this way, okay?
Ellis Genge won't take a backward step. I read an article this morning by Alex Corbisiero around scrummaging and suggests that loose head props will go to ground and they will hinge if they feel like they're under pressure. They would much rather go to ground like that than getting driven back, and on that occasion it looked like Zander Fagerson had the upper hand. The secret in that is that I had to read more about scrummaging, because the reality is that if you've not been there, you can only reproduce what those who have know more about it.
Okay, Tom off.
Oh, let's listen in. I read that piece too. It was very enlightening, I must say. Let's listen in.
Okay, I don't need you to. Okay, the only issue is on this side now, okay? There's a 50-50 there, but you need to get your feet wrong and better heights from here, okay? You're forcing me to make it now, guys.
Absolutely. Here we go. Let's go, Steve.
All very polite.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, both props anxious to get on the right side of the
There's too
referee.
much pressure on the bind, so hold that, okay?
Let's not forget, all referees will also watch previous games back, and this isn't a front row that many refs will have been able to monitor as a unit. You know, it is a new front row. Will Stewart in his first Six Nations start. Ellis Genge probably third choice loose head prop realistically. Jamie George is the mainstay in that front row.
Hey, use it!
But it's there for Price. On there to Redpath. The chip across field. It's for Duhan van der Merwe. Well, the ball got a big bounce.
22. Didn't touch it.
There'll be a huge sigh of relief from England there.
Yeah.
It was clear that Duhan van der Merwe was going to have that space. Finn Russell, one occasion, just needs to put it on a sixpence.
22, yeah.
And it's just 2 metres too far in front of Duhan van der Merwe. If he just drops it on the goal line, van der Merwe just catches that and dots it down. Finn Russell known for his short kicking game. And there, that man there, Gregor Townsend. Yeah, there you go. A game of millimetres.
Price. Here goes Hogg. He's a player that England can ill afford to allow to have a bit of space.
Comes on.
Wait on it.
Russell pumps it up high. Owen Farrell is underneath it.
Great ball.
Patted back. It's gone into the hands of Ferguson. Powerful from Matt Ferguson. Here's Ali Price. Once again, Scotland into the 22. Redpath. This time they've got an overlap. It's Turner. Turner, well, perhaps he should have kept it, but Duhan van der Merwe showing his power. And he's up to the line, and Duhan van der Merwe has got the opening score.
There's a try.
Awesome, well done, Dewey.
No less than Scotland deserve. He still had an awful lot to do. George Turner would have been better with the show and go. But as it is, the jock box scores, the stats that he produces week in, week out in the Edinburgh jersey, and his stats since turning to Scotland have been unbelievable. But it all came from an outstanding kick from Finn Russell. Sean Maitland got after it, Matt Ferguson with another carry. But look at Duhan van der Merwe, get off Elliot Daly. Mark Wilson, one of the strongest in the game, still not strong enough to hold out Duhan van der Merwe. It's no less than Scotland deserved. And an outstanding score for the visitors.
Well, among those watching on here at Twickenham, and there aren't too many, Warren Gatlin, the Lions coach, and this man recognised as a potential Lions bolter.
Good. Thank you.
Well, I guess with a name like Duhan van der Merwe, he'd be the Lions' spy in the camp. And we saw there just what power that man has. 6'4", more than 100 kilograms. And the Matador just slides that past the upright. The two French assistant referees took a long look at one another before shaking their heads. But look at this from Duhan van der Merwe. This is sheer power.
It really is. It got inside Elliot Daly, who will be disappointed to have fallen off that one, and then to wrestle Mark Wilson and get that ball down. You see what it means to those on the bench. It's a huge statement by Scotland. You just saw the Stuart Hogg and Cam Redpath in that midfield, giving the space to George Turner in the outside channels. Duhan van der Merwe with a finish. Now the key for Scotland is to get themselves back into England's half again and build further pressure while they're still at 14 men.
Wait here.
Well, the finish line still an awfully long way away for Scotland. Remember what happened 2 years ago here. They led by 7 points when the clock went into the red digits. It's now an 8-point advantage after a little more than half an hour. But there are 1 or 2 former Scotland internationals who've lived off that victory here back in 1983.
Don't roll there, one.
They will be wondering, is it going to be happening again? But England get the penalty.
Yeah, but
that's only the second penalty conceded by Scotland to the 10 by England, and actually Owen Farrell, I'd be very surprised if he does anything but step up and point at the sticks for this one, just to settle down his side. They've been under pressure for a long time now. 75% possession for Scotland. There you go, the stats up there. If you look at the possession that Scotland have had, the metres made within that, they've varied their game, and coming into this, Scotland have become harder to beat in 2020, but they needed to find that attacking threat in 2021, which we have seen so far in the first 33 minutes. For Owen Farrell, this is an important kick just to get his side on the scoreboard, narrow that gap and build a little bit of belief, because they've been on the back foot for a large chunk of this game.
Yes, each of those stats was essentially 3-1 in favour of Scotland. Chance here though for Owen Farrell to stop the bleeding. Well, it's straight out of the middle, a sweet strike. Owen Farrell's personal tally in his Test career against Scotland goes up to 99.
Yeah, a clean strike by the skipper, the talisman for this England side. Scotland will be disappointed by that, but I have to give Andrew Brace credit for this. He's refereed consistently at the breakdown, trying to encourage a quick ball game by getting the tackler out. On that occasion, Rory Sutherland did his very best, but he was half a second too slow to get out the breakdown and was penalised accordingly.
Well, Itoje rose very high for that, well over the height of a basketball ring. Forward comes Hogg. That's Matt Fagerson again. He's been a bold selection by Gregor Townsend. Fagerson just 22, the younger of the Fagerson brothers. There it is for Ali Price. Cameron Redpath. He's had an impressive start to his Test career. To think, just 2 years ago, he was playing in the under-26 nations for England. His centre partner, a certain Ollie Lawrence. Today they're playing opposite one another. There's Price. Well, the kick half charged down, gathered by Daly. Look at the way Finn Russell just passed it on to Stuart Hogg. Hogg in danger of getting caught there. Oh, and Russell has been. Well, that's dangerous for England, for Scotland. Back goes Hamish Watson. And that was just a little bit too relaxed by the Scotland captain and their talisman. They almost got themselves into trouble.
It's almost like Stuart Hogg picked up off the skills and nonchalance from Finn Russell. Now Finn Russell is just saying, bang it down there, Ali. Scott Cummings got a big role to do in protecting him here from Maro Itoje.
Well, he saw Maro Itoje outside him, thought better of it. Here's Harris. Harris with a kick ahead. And the ball has gone directly into touch, so Scotland making a bit of a meal of that. I think we've seen more mistakes from the Scots in the last 2 minutes than in the previous 33.
Yeah, just compounding error on error at that time. Chris Harris, he had plenty of time just to put it onto his right boot earlier. It was a 2-on-2, the defence were matched up. And for Scotland, all they wanted was to be able to clear their lines. They had a good blue wall to be able to kick chase, but as it was, he went, and then it was almost like he ran too far and realised, oh, I'm backing myself into a corner here, I need to get rid.
Out there from Vunipola. Well, that was a neat break. They're inside the Scotland 22. There's Maro Itoje. He picks up and carries the best phase of play we've seen in the match so far from England. On there to Vunipola. Scotland have come offside.
No advantage, always under pressure.
Well, England are going to have the chance to narrow the deficit to a couple of points here.
All of you offside. Take a step, please, Blue. Yeah. For me, mate. Shot called. Yeah, well, she's always checking. Joy will come in if it's clear, okay?
I don't like that necessarily from Owen Farrell. Allow the referee to referee, but you see England, a good strike move here. Ben Youngs with a show and go. Finn went beyond Finn Russell, and from there they got quick ball, but because it was Youngs who carried the next man in to get the ball up and away, wasn't there quite quickly enough. Scotland deemed to be offside. And again, this is something that I'm comfortable seeing, is the assistant referees helping with the offside calls. It allows us a better game, faster ball. But for Scotland, the concern is, having had such a huge amount of possession and territory in the opening 33 minutes, they're now facing only a 2-point lead and conceding 6 points in 2 attacks.
Well, the referee is
blue 10.
Yeah.
Received a word
10,
from the television match
just
official, Joy Neville.
Ironically enough, this is what Farrow was asking for, and he said Joy Neville was always watching this, so
Yeah.
I think he suggested there was a trip from Finn Russell during his tackle.
Coming up
I think
now,
it comes on Ben Youngs. Yeah, it's a fair call. His right leg did go out there, wrong-footed, and
Here you go, Andy. This is the best angle that we have.
the mitigation comes from the fact he gets his right arm to him, so actually is...
Yeah, it's a trip. I agree, mate. So, clear trip, Joy, yeah? By 10 blue. So 10 blue goes to the bin, yeah? Do you agree with that?
Well, it's going to be expensive for Scotland.
This is the best angle, Andy.
Yeah, when you're ready, you come back to me. Yeah, so clear trip there, Joy, by blue 10. So no other option there, but it's a yellow card against him then, yeah?
I agree.
Yeah. 10 blue. He's clearly tripped in his shirt. No, 10. It's a trip. So you have here on the 15, Joy, yeah? Okay. Joy?
Yeah.
Which
I'll
is the
get
mark?
you the mark now. Where's the mark?
Well, we saw Finn Russell
Just as
juggling
20,
tennis
20,
rackets in his
25
hotel
metres
earlier this week on social
out
media.
on the 22.
He can go and practice
yeah,
again
on
for
the
10
22
minutes.
and just here, yeah.
On the 22.
Could be
25
expensive for the
metres.
Yeah, thank
Scots.
you.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I think it's probably...
option.
It favours Scotland that it comes
advantageous,
just a couple of minutes before half-time, so they're not going to go one full 10-minute block without Finn Russell, but there is no doubt the impact of losing their orchestrator-in-chief is significant. England they conceded 5 points while they were without Billy Vunipola. Scotland will be desperate to finish this half without conceding another and start that second half well, but lots to be talked about in the changing rooms at half-time before then.
Well, Owen Farrell has already scored centuries against Wales, Italy, Ireland and France, and now he's completed the Six Nations set. More than 100 points in his Test career against Scotland.
Let's go, Scotland!
So a minute to go in the first half. Nothing like a smile on the face of Eddie Jones just yet. Gregor Townsend sensing that, well, he may yet go into half-time with a 2-point lead, but he will feel it should be more, and he won't want to start the second half a man down, which he will be doing.
Hold. Use it! Okay, just a...
Oh, and then it's spilled forward by Matt Fagerson.
Blue, okay. Obstruction line 14.
Well, now it's the Scots who are
13 blue.
committing the penalties.
Clear escort line by 13
That
blue.
time it was Chris Harris trying to protect the
blocked,
catcher,
yeah.
but doing so illegally.
You stopped and then you prevented the chaser, 13 blue. Change the line, escort.
Yeah, Chris Harris
Thanks, Pascal.
rubbing his head there, frustrated. Scotland they just needed to not concede a penalty there, and they would have got them towards half-time. As it is, they concede a penalty. Henry Slade's done a brilliant job of launching England down onto the 22-metre line with an outstanding kick from that penalty.
Good contest.
Oh, that was wonderfully worked by Scotland. They've turned over the line out again. Jamie George had one or two problems of that kind in November. And Ali Price puts it into touch. Well, I guess the conclusion would be, Rory, Scotland well on top in that half, but they will think that they really should have rather more to show for it.
Undoubtedly, Martin. England will be much the happier of the final 5-6 minutes of that first half. And the scoreboard definitely doesn't reflect the dominance that Scotland had for the first 33 minutes. But as it is, we have an absolute cracker on our hands. There hasn't been a load of tries, but there's been loads to talk about, loads for the coaches to look at half-time, and we've got a lot to look forward to.
So Scotland leading at half-time by 8 points to 6. First 6 or 7 minutes or so of this second half will be absolutely crucial as to the outcome of this Calcutta Cup. The 150th year of this great match between the two old rivals. Scotland leading 1983. The last time that Scotland won here at Twickenham. Finn Russell in the sin bin for the first few minutes of this second half. And it's worth remembering that John Rutherford was the Finn Russell of his day. He masterminded that victory by 22 points to 12 back in 1983.
Left, shoot, left.
It really is a grand opportunity for the men in blue. 8 points to 6. Scotland lead. And as for England, Rory, well, the stats at half-time reveal that Anthony Watson, Ollie Lawrence, two very powerful runners for England, didn't have a single carry in that first half.
Hold in front, three.
The only time I remember Ollie Lawrence's name being called was when you suggested he played in the midfield in the same under-20s team as Cam Redpath. But, you know, England have managed to weather a period of ill-discipline pretty well. They'll be desperate to start this second half well and put pressure on Scotland while there are 14 men.
And there goes Hogg. He's a little bit on his own. There's Ali Price. On here to Gray. Scotland will be happy to keep possession at the moment and keep play inside the England half until they do get their playmaker back. Look at that. Inside 7 minutes now without Finn Russell. Good counter-rucking there from England, but Scotland on their mettle. That was Johnny Gray.
Good contest and went off.
The captain Hogg just doing the marshalling, the carry forward from Rory Sutherland. Here's Ali Price. Scotland keeping it tight. That time it was Zander Fagerson. Price on to Johnny Gray. Johnny Gray today up against his Exeter teammate Johnny Hill.
He's been belted a couple of times in this period of play by Johnny Hill.
So knock-on advantage.
Well, the knock-on there by Maro Itoje. So Scotland will have to put in more valuable seconds being eaten out of that 10-minute period.
And that's what it's all about. You can actually just see how Scotland, without Finn Russell in there as the pivot, just lose their flow, lose their shape a little bit. Stuart Hogg done well to step up and distribute in and around, but a lot of it just has to come to the forwards carrying. Maro Itoje, knock-on given against him. It was potentially a first knock-on against Johnny Gray initially, but Martin, these early exchanges are about Scotland getting back to 15 without too much damage to that scoreboard, and Gregor Townsend will be pleased with the opening 2.5 minutes of that. They will still look to strike here from this scrum if they can get a solid set piece. Oh, they switched it round.
Good call. Let's go. Okay, let's go.
He was very clear that he thought it was an England knock-on, but actually I think maybe he's had Joy Neville's potentially had a word in the ear to say the first one came from Johnny Gray. That changes things significantly.
We saw Finn Russell prowling on the touchline. He'll be desperate to get on.
Scotland going with just
You're over the cliff, no balance.
Free kick taken quickly. Farrell feeding the ball out. Here's Henry Slade. Slade just trying to find a gap in the midfield there. There's Elliot Daly. Ben Young's the scrum half. Farrell on there to Ellis Gedge. One or two Scots thought that pass might have gone forward, but you may well have heard Andrew Bray say flat. He was happy with it. The kick through there from Farrell, but that should be easy for Hogg.
Hold one, stop.
The big spiral fired downfield. Back goes the England captain. Important for the chase there, and Hogg's done just that. Maitland underneath it, and then it's knocked forward by Elliot Daly. Here's Ali Price. Price looks up, sees an empty field. Cameron Redpath just getting after it. There's Farrell.
England!
Once again, England keen to keep that ball alive.
open prairie in front of Stuart Hogg here. Farrell in front of him.
There's a try scorer, Duan Fundamapa. Maro Itoje just grabbing a leg and hanging on for dear life. Sutherland, he's one of the players who'll be anxious to impress Warren Gatland here today. Well, at the risk of tempting fate on behalf of Scott's followers, you'd have to say the men in blue have managed this 10-minute period down to 14 remarkably well.
They definitely have. And Owen Farrell will be kicking himself. England had possession there. They had a 5-on-2 down the 15-metre channel. They decided to put boot to ball. As it is, Stuart Hogg was in behind. He put the ball onto his right foot and unleashed a 70-metre howitzer down into England's half and just put them on the back foot. It's an opportunity gone in possession for England, and as a result it's given Scotland the chance to build possession, get a little bit of territory, and then they've forced a penalty for not rolling away in the breakdown. So by the time this penalty is taken and they go to touch or a goal with Stuart Hogg, Finn Russell will not be far from being unleashed.
I'm not sure.
Well, I noticed coming out at half-time, George Ford was wearing his flat shoes. An option for Eddie Jones must be to bring Ford on perhaps a little bit earlier than he was going to do. I sense the plan is to bring Ford on, perhaps slip the captain out to 12.
What a kick that is from Stuart Hogg. Elliot Daly tried bringing that back in field 1 metre from his own goal line. And Scotland are at 14, but they've got the full 8 in the pack, so they'll fancy themselves here.
10 metres, 9.
Well, George Turner hasn't done much wrong this afternoon, and that continues. Cummings that time. Turner's got it. He wants to fire out of the starting blocks like a sprinter. But first of all, they've got to get things going in the right direction. Ali Price has called for it.
Committed.
There's Duan Fundamapa, very much the trump card in situations like that. Cameron Redpath just protecting the ball. There goes Fagerson. There's Price. On here to Johnny Gray. Right in front of the post. Hamish Watson. Being hit hard that time by Mark Wilson. With George Turner almost getting cut in half.
Interesting to see whether that was a no arms from Ellis Gedge.
Well, you could hear a few words being exchanged by officials there. Into the last minute of the sin bin period. Here's Price. George Turner again.
Okay.
Well, Joy Neville's been in the ear of the referee again.
Advantage.
I think she's seen a no-arms tackle.
It's a free hit. This is where you need to go quick ball.
And they've done just that. There's Hogg, out wide. Can Scotland get over in the corner? Well, that's a wonderful defensive effort. It was Chris Harris who almost got there.
Yeah, still advantage. Last feet, 6.
Here goes Johnny Gray, straight into Maro Itoje.
Good.
Taken on again by Scotland.
Advantage again, 7.
Another penalty conceded by England. Well, there he goes again. Look at Van der Merwe from a standing start. Ali Price. They're going to continue probing that corner over there. Oh, and then it goes into the hands of Elliot Daly, and the referee blows his whistle.
1 and 7 there, captain.
Well, you can see Andrew Bray's just...
He's now 1 and 7, no arms tackle. There's no attempt to grasp on the right arm. Okay, on that last one, number 1, okay? I'm very prepared to put somebody else in the bin, and if the discipline doesn't improve, okay? Get the message across. 1 and 7. Yeah, over there, or here.
Well, Andrew Bray's just opting.
Just shoot right to the post.
2 penalties, one in front of the post, one over here in the corner. Decision time for Stuart Hogg.
Yeah.
It is a test match, and they'll opt for the 3.
Yeah, they had the two options for the penalty. This is the one that is the easier kick for Finn Russell. Immediately point at the shot. But Scotland, you saw the power in the close exchanges of Duhan van der Merwe, bouncing off 135 kilos of Billy Vunipola.
And he's doing it from a standstill.
From a standing start. He is an unbelievable specimen. And Scotland will be delighted by that. Building pressure, putting the England defence under pressure. Some wild shots, no arm tackles, 2 penalty options, and again Andrew Bray saying he is not scared of putting somebody else into the bin. Finn Russell adds the 3, first involvement back on the field, and Gregor Townsend will be delighted with the way that his side have managed their way into this second half with 14 men.
Well, before the game, England promised Scotland that they would put Finn Russell into a straitjacket. Well, certainly in the opening 40 minutes of this match, Finn Russell has been wearing the Matadors Montera, and it hasn't been dislodged at all. There he goes again with a big cross kick. That's on Johnny May. Chance to run here for the win. A rare opportunity in the match so far. Scotland leading by 11 points to 6. The rain starting to come down fairly hard. It was forecast to come down perhaps even harder than it is. So Twickenham's done rather well in that respect. But it is quite wet and greasy out there. Youngs feeds the ball onto Johnny Hill. Here's Owen Farrell. I think the rust has been showing a little bit on the England captain. Bear in mind, he's one of those Saracens who before today hadn't played since the first weekend in December.
Good carry, Will Stewart.
Out there from Youngs. Farrell again looks up, opposite the cross kick. Well, that's been easily read by Van der Merwe. Back to Finn Russell, doesn't quite come out of the middle. Here's Farrell. That's one to chase for Elliot Daly. Hogg underneath it. Neat little sidestep as well, and he's off and running. This is what this man does so well. Up towards halfway. Russell puts the spiral on it, and that's a wonderful kick. Daly fires it down the tram lines. Plays with so much time as Finn Russell. On the odd occasion, perhaps with a little bit too much. And that was almost the case in point.
Yeah, well, we saw it on one occasion in the first half. But on that occasion, he's taken his time and he's stuck it onto the right foot. And Scotland win that kicking battle. Owen Farrell opting to go high. Stuart Hogg, brilliant counter-attack, making 20 metres when he had absolutely no right. Elliot Daly, we all know this, the power in that left boot that he has, but Finn Russell finding a good outcome into England's half. with the changing conditions as well, Martin, it'll just be interesting to see how England, they're obviously, it's only a 5-point deficit at the moment, so I'm sure they'll be patient and try and build themselves back into this match. But for Scotland, if they can keep exerting the pressure on England, at what stage do they make that change to look to George Ford off the bench, potentially Max Malins, Dan Robson is a different spark at scrum half. For Scotland, the key is trying to force England's hand here by keeping the pressure on and being unrelenting on it.
Well, we caught a glimpse of those Scotland jerseys carrying the names of the corresponding player from that first Calcutta Cup 150 years ago. If Scotland hang on here, I reckon when we come to next week, when Scotland take on Wales up at Murrayfield, the names on the jerseys may well be the likes of Peter Dodds, Jim Pollock, Jim Rennick, Keith Robertson, Roger Baird and so on. They were the winners here back in 1983. Away goes Sean Maitland, he's got some space here as the wing. The tackle from his teammate back at club level, Jamie George. There's Russell. Sends Elliot Daly back. The ball set up nicely for the fullback. But you have to say, Scotland, as they did in the opening 25 minutes or 30 minutes of that first half, looking much the more dangerous with ball in hand.
They're managing the game brilliantly. Watch this from Sean Maitland, left-footed step to get away from Mark Wilson, who was charging down on him, looking to absolutely smash the Scotland right winger. As it is, Scotland get good front football. It is going to be Mark Wilson's last involvement in this match. Finn Russell being willing to manage the game, pin Elliot Daly down into that corner, and whilst he found a good touch, it gives Scotland an attacking platform just over 30 metres out.
Wait.
There's Cummings. Couple of grabs taken at it by Hamish Watson. The arm is out again. There's another penalty conceded by England. Well, this is certainly an interesting call.
Interference on the arm.
The penalty against Maro Itoje.
I'd be surprised if they didn't go at the posts here as well. Opportunity to take it to 8 points.
No problem, you competing for the ball. Don't jump across the line and pull his arm.
Maro Itoje has a smile to himself, but is that might be the 4th penalty he's given away this afternoon. And whilst a lot of people made light of the fact that these guys are top internationals, British and Irish Lions, experienced English international campaigners, they haven't had game time since the Autumn Nations Cup final, and that's undoubtedly having an impact. Finn Russell, opportunity here to go beyond one score for the lead for Scotland, and certainly the confidence, you can tell Scotland are brimming with confidence. It's coming from a solid platform around line-out that is functioning really well, a solid scrum, and when they get the ball, they're looking threatening with it.
And it might have been a smile from Maro Itoje, but it was one through gritted teeth. Oh, he's just left it out there as Finn Russell. I wonder, might that be expensive in half an hour's time? Eddie Jones is off his seat. Not quite panic stations, but it's certainly not going to plan.
No, it certainly isn't. Speaking to Luke Cowan-Dickey there.
Fine, good contest for the ball. No. Yeah, good contest.
But Finn will be very frustrated to have missed that one. He'd expect to make that one 9 times out of 10.
Well, Johnny Gray came down with a real bump that time, but the referee said it was a fair contest. That's Matt Fagerson. He has impressed today. There's Russell again. Elliot Daly, mindful to keep the old tippy toes off the whitewash. Here goes Stuart Hogg. The ball sits up nicely for the captain.
Oh, he struck an absolute beauty there.
Well, it's the classic old spiral, and it's got the bounce.
What a kick by Scotland's captain. Against the grain, right foot to left touchline, not always easy, but he sees space in behind Anthony Watson, who must be desperate to get a touch of the ball. He's made 0 carries so far, still alongside Ollie Lawrence, and you just see what that meant, the understanding the importance of keeping this foot on the throat. England now ringing the changes. Cowan-Dickey and Dan Robson, both on.
Okay, good guys. 5, yeah.
Well, off goes Jamie George.
Okay.
1 or 2 problems with the line out for England.
Okay, let's go then.
So that's perhaps a decision that has been made
Discipline here, time on.
with this in mind, and Luke Cowan-Dickie straight into the match and going short. Perhaps that was a little bit predictable, but that was the pragmatic choice. Finding another of those replacements from a few minutes ago, Courtney Laws.
Same more, 2.
Luke Cowan-Dickie's got the ball in hand. This is a bit more like the old England. There's Dan Robson. Well, it's straight up and straight down from the scrum half. There's Russell. Attempt at the drop. He knew the penalty was coming. Dan Robson just essentially put everybody in wide offside.
Yeah, it's not the first touch you want as a scrum half. I have to say, though, Luke Cowan-Dickie, the maul was going forward. Dan Robson wanted it on one occasion, probably 5 seconds before he got it.
I'm really trying to work with you. Okay, but there's just way too many penalties. Somebody else is going to go to the bin, okay, if this doesn't improve. Okay, because it's out to 10. That's my AR call. Get the message across.
But it's 13 penalties, and we've only been playing 56 minutes.
That one there's come off the back of an error. There are a few that have come from Scotland pressure. But Andrew Brace, I mean, this around the narrative of this, Andrew Brace has said he won't be shy of sending someone else. And what a boost that would be for Scotland, a 5-point lead that they're now looking to extend further. But that was an error under pressure by England. Scotland have had a few lineouts in this area, though, yet to capitalise from the maul. England defended it really well so far.
Well, I beg your pardon, my England penalty pencil is running out of lead. They're now up to 14. George Turner, he's had a magic carpet ride today as the Glasgow hooker, and it continues. England are on a warning. George Turner is on the bit of a rumble. It's there for early Price. Price sensing there's a gap. He's being held up, and England get the turnover, and that time just perhaps Scotland got a little bit greedy.
It looked like Ali Price was going in to free that ball up from the back of the maul, but it just stayed in there, and I think he felt the momentum. England, you see England did well. They got rid of Scott Cummings at the front, so it took away the block at the front of the maul. Scotland did well to regenerate it, and then Ali Price ended up with his hands on. Johnny Hill there doesn't have to let go of the ball because he's part of that same maul. England turn it over, and they've done well to get the opportunity with this platform. They're still obviously only 5 metres from their line.
There's no balance on the last. That's why it's a free kick.
Is this the first scrum of the second half?
Don't pull back.
Well, those stats tell a story, don't they? And what they tend to show is that Scotland have had many, many opportunities, but really they've only taken one, the try from Duan van der Merwe.
England have defended very bravely. Scotland have coughed up 1 or 2 opportunities in there. That was one that got away. Credit to England for their defence, but it's the stats that coming into this afternoon's match. Gregor Townsend, the conversion of opportunities in the opposition red zone is something he would have been so acutely aware of. He won't like seeing that stat, but he'll be very hopeful that it will read a little bit differently in 20+ minutes time.
Well, Scotland have won just one of the last 12 Calcutta Cup matches. There have been a couple of draws along the way. Here's Farrell. Well, giving Anthony Watson a chance to run, but he was in a very tight spot.
That's not where you want your first carry of the day to be 60 minutes into the game as a winger.
Absolutely right. Here's Robson.
Stay.
A little bit more certain over that one. That's rather better from the Wasp scrum half.
Yeah, much better. It was uncharacteristic of Dan Robson, the first kick. Again, he was in the academy when I was at Gloucester. He's a magnificent footballer. Obviously now a really mature player, experienced player at Wasps. Big opportunity for him off the bench.
Is Gregor Townsend starting to believe?
I think he would have believed on Scotland's flight down here. I think in his heart of hearts, he would have believed, but he would have realised that Scotland have to turn up and put in a real performance.
Not quite so tidy, but Scotland come away with it. That's Zander Fagerson. The Fagerson brothers have had a wonderful match so far. Oh, that was clever, but perhaps just a little bit too clever.
Just nudged forward. It was good line speed from Dan Robson. Comes off a scrappy line out. Ali Price is a little look, but that gives Dan Robson the opportunity to bring line speed onto Finn Russell. As it was, he drifted off it a little bit. Robson hit him and the pass went forward. So England have done incredibly well to weather that storm close to their line. And you look at that, the number of occasions, that power game for Scotland, the 5 line breaks. One try still separating the teams. That was one that got away. Good defence by England. Under John Mitchell, of course, their defence is renowned for suffocating and bullying opposition. They haven't quite managed to do that, but in the 22 today, they've been very, very good at keeping Scotland out.
One of the headlines from the week, John Mitchell signing a contract extension with England to take him through to the World Cup alongside the head coach Eddie Jones. Into the final quarter, Scotland leading by 11 points to 6. Penalty advantage now for England. Ball being lost forward, they'll come back for the penalty.
Dominant scrum by England there. Power really coming on. Luke Cowan-Dickie, the only change in those front rows so far. You just see Rory Sutherland being forced up by Will Stewart on the tight head side. A grimace there by Sutherland. And that's an outstanding kick again by Henry Slade.
England adding a bit of extra oomph to that front row as well, with Harry Williams, the extra tight head, coming on to replace Will Stewart. Well, Eddie Jones was very keen to emphasise during the week that it's a 23-man game, and it's people like the media who are obsessed with the first 15 and the replacements. He says that Calcutta Cups are won in the last 20 minutes, and he expects his finishers, as he calls them, to win the game for him. I can't imagine, though, that Eddie Jones was planning to be trailing by 5 with 17.5 minutes to go. That was Ollie Lawrence, and then it's lost forward. There's Finn Russell. The rain's starting to come down rather hard now. Back goes Elliot Daly. He has got a real howitzer of a boot when he chooses to, but that one was well anticipated by Finn Russell. Russell pumps it up high, and it's gone all the way straight into touch.
It's an error from Finn Russell. A real error. One that he will be incredibly frustrated by. Scotland now ringing the changes, but Ollie Lawrence first carry there. Again, a little bit loose at the breakdown. England ended up losing possession. Scotland cleared their lines, but Finn Russell went to put it high, straight into touch, and gives England a good attacking platform. But a couple of South African-born props coming on off the bench up front.
Okay, guys.
Well, that's right. You talked about the jock box, or the Bok jocks. We had the kilted Kiwis, didn't we, a couple of decades ago. Duan van der Merwe, one of those, scoring the try which separates the teams at the moment. And now we've got Ollie Kebbel, son of the former Springbok Guy Kebbel, and Willem VP Nel, as he's known back in South Africa. There's Robson. Out here to Farrell. Farrell puts it through on the left foot, and I must say that was a gift for Hogg. It's not been the easiest game so far for the England captain. That was a case in point.
It sums up England's attack through the afternoon. It's been unimaginative, and that's really poor from Owen Farrell, a player of his quality, a player of his experience, to kick the ball on front football as well, but worst of all, straight down the throat of the Scotland captain, who finds a brilliant touch. And again, the pressure turns, and I'm just wondering, Martin, with these conditions, you see the rain starting to really come down. England are going to have to start chasing the game at some stage. 15 minutes to go. It is only a one-score game, but are England relying on getting 2 penalties rather than scoring tries?
Line of touch.
Well, you need plenty of field position for that, and possession. But the harder the rain comes down, the tougher it is to chase that match. Here's Luke Cowan-Dickie, who's been prominent since he came off the bench to replace Jamie George. Robson. It's another one for Sean Maitland.
It's a good kick by Dan Robson for Johnny May to chase, but as outcomes go, you know, Scotland still have the line out. It landed in play, bounced out of play.
On the last one.
And England are willing to stay in this fight. They're willing to stay patient.
Nothing across, please.
Big moment now. Richie Gray coming off the bench. For Jamie Ritchie, interestingly.
Let's go.
Does that mean Scott Cummings will drop in to blindside flanker? Gary Graham will go to 7. Gary Graham to 8, I think it will be, and Hamish Watson will stay at 7. Scott Cummings might drop back to blindside flanker. It's a big Scotland pack now.
Gary Graham was powerful last week for his club Newcastle. In defeat at London Irish, scored a try. Another player who spent time in the England camp in the past, but was never capped. That's a good chase from the Scots.
Finn Russell did really well, got Luke Cowan-Dickie out the way and knocked Johnny May backwards.
Use it now.
Ali Price this time underneath it. That went backwards off the hands. Oh, and once again it's... Well, I must say, it's all rather disjointed. And that time England get the penalty.
Okay.
Pinball in there. Dan Robson wanting to have a look at it. As it was, pinball in there. Ali Price dropped on it, and I think it was Elliot Daly managed to get over the top of him. And Jackal awarded with the penalty, and England perhaps a little bit fortunate there, but they make the most of their luck. More changes.
Yeah, George Turner's down as well. He may well have to go off. He's a key figure. He's hobbling off, I think, is George Turner, as Ben Earl comes on. He's got the speed of a wing. George Turner is leaving the field. On goes Billy Vunipola. And here comes David Cherry, making his debut at 30. What a moment it is for him. So Cowan-Dickie finds Itoje, Robson, Farrell. Good first-time tackle coming from Finn Russell. Robson. Here's Elliot Daly. Ali Price grabbing hold of him. They're trying to keep that ball up for the Scots. It is there for Dan Robson. Can England create something this time? Tom Curry. The first-time tackle spot on at the moment from the men in blue.
Great first carry by Ben Earl there.
Farrell, the change of direction. Cummings going in with the tackle on Johnny Hill. Here's Genge. Genge, the match winner in the monsoon in Edinburgh last year. Farrell. Here's Elliot Daly. The finish line just 12 minutes away for Scotland. 38 years since the men in blue won here at Twickenham. There's Ben Earl, out here to Anthony Watson. He's given no space at all. You could hear England calling for offside there. It's only a 5-point advantage at the moment. Farrell.
Scotland defence staying disciplined so far, building that blue wall and forcing England and Dan Robson into kicking the ball away. And that one's gone too long from Robson. And that's a win for Steve Tandy's defence, a man who's come in from the Waratahs, the Welshman, and he's done an incredible job of making this Scotland team much harder to beat, built a defence that really stands up to the attack that is put in front of them. And on that occasion there, England throwing everything at Scotland, but they're keeping the discipline, making their tackles, getting up off the ground for secondary efforts, but ultimately asking questions of England and what are they going to do to break down the Scotland defence.
Well, here comes George Ford.
Okay, good.
And he replaces Ollie Lawrence. So now we will see that rejig. But those last two attacking opportunities from England, one kicked away by the captain Owen Farrell, and now by the scrum half Dan Robson. Scotland anxious to get possession back, and they have done. Picked up there by Gary Graham.
Stay here.
Here's the replacement scrum half, Scott Steele. What a moment for him. The player who's been around the clubs and now finds himself in a Scotland side within 10 minutes of a famous victory.
He knows this neck of the woods well. Now a Harlequin, of course.
Hold one.
George Ford. Crossfield. The captain, Hargreaves, called for it. That was a good chase coming from Henry Slade. Here is Scott Steele. Johnny Gray, you could hear the cries of smashing coming from Owen Farrell.
Use it! Stay. Yeah.
Steele again. Here goes Daly. The chase good from the Scots once more, led by Gary Graham. Here's Johnny Hill. Oh, and the ball is dropped, and eventually it goes there to Curry. Perhaps a little bit fortunate for England, but that's a wonderful carry from the sail flanker. And Scotland have turned it. They get the penalty. Well, Cameron Redpath has been absolutely everywhere for Scotland today. What a dream debut it's been. His father, Brian, who, well, he hasn't been frightened to tell us that over the years, deep down, the one international jersey he wanted to see his son wearing, well, put it this way, it wasn't a white one.
Of course, former Scotland captain, of course, born in France, Cam Redpath, educated in England. I was actually part of the Scottish qualified system whereby I identified and tried capturing players outside of Scotland, and Cam Redpath has been a man who's been on that radar from when he was probably 16 years old. And what he has shown this afternoon is that he is some capture. The maturity that he's shown, the composure that he's shown on his first outing, probably somebody who's benefited not from having 80,000+ fans in this stadium this afternoon, but my goodness, he's shown a maturity well beyond his years. And what an outstanding chance this is. Stuart Hogg, we know the power of this right boot. This is a shot to nothing.
Well, both fullbacks can hit it a long way off the tee. And that's an example from Stuart Hogg, but not nearly straight enough. Well, injuries are never good where rugby players are concerned, but the knee injury, which stopped Cameron Redpath going on the England tour of South Africa 3 years ago, has proved something of a blessing.
It certainly has. I think Brian will be absolutely delighted. His mum Jill as well, watching this at home. I wish they certainly wish they could have been here to see it, but my goodness, I'm not sure they'll have many fingernails left.
Okay, off your feet.
Gary Graham again taking the ball in. Gary Graham, who, like Cameron Redpath, son of a former Scotland international, George, who Gary Graham having been first snapped up by England but never kept. Oh, bit of a fumble there from Anthony Watson, but he took it at the second grab. The Scots are within 7 minutes.
It's now turned into a game of kick tennis and chess, really. Just both sides waiting for someone to break.
Second man, 4.
That was an excellent chase from England, but it's Cherry who comes away with it eventually. It was a lovely catch from Hamish Watson.
I think Richie Gray maybe got a little bit lucky going off his feet, all 6'9" or 10 of them.
Stay on side. No, no, don't come in. And use it.
Scott still in no hurry at all. He has 5 seconds once the referee has called use it. Here's Elliot Daly just trying to find a path through. He eventually finds one, but yet another to the tackle count of Johnny Gray. There really is no more reliable defender, not just in European rugby, but perhaps world rugby than Johnny Gray. Gary Graham taken down by Anthony Watson. Scotland have to be mindful here. So easy to concede a penalty inside your 22. Cummings that time.
Duhan van der Merwe did a brilliant job to get Tom Curry off Gary Graham out of that jackal position. It was dangerous, dangerous territory. There are some really tired legs out there now. Just one mistake could be the difference in the outcome of this match.
Well, there'll be one word on the lips of Gregor Townsend. It'll be discipline. There goes Farrell being held up by Watson. It's there though for Robson. George Ford, the inside ball. Once again, Johnny Gray. Well, they're holding him up. And Scotland will have the put-in. How crucial is that decision? Every blow of the whistle, the players stare at the referee, and that one is another one that goes the way of Scotland.
And Johnny Gray in there, you know he's going to make his tackles, but look at the effort from Scott Steele, the smaller man. Johnny May piling to him. Scott Steele, known for his defence. Steve Tandy, the defence coach, absolutely loves him because he's a small man, but he fronts up and he fights for every inch. That man there, though, Johnny Gray, in as part of it as well. 14 carries this afternoon, his 8th tackle. Will he have made a more important tackle than that, though? As both sides try and catch breath, and Andrew Brace tries to speed up the game. The final 5 minutes of this match, it's been intriguing, it's been low scoring. Scotland, for me, have definitely been the better side, the side that have looked to play more.
Well, Rory, there are many proud and very talented Scots rugby players who've come here throughout their career and not won. They include Gregor Townsend. But I wonder, March the 5th, 1983, the old Five Nations, England 12, Scotland 22. The tries from Roy Laidlaw and Tom Smith.
Well, don't speak too soon, Martin. On paper, coming into this game, Scotland always had a chance. You looked at their back division, you looked at the extra grit and front that their pack now have, but rugby's not played on paper. It took Scotland to come down here and front up to put themselves in this position. The game is not done yet. But without the crowds, without that influence of the home crowd, with an England side who have a few injuries, albeit they still have a better depth than any other country in the world for my money. But they had a third of the starting 15 had played 80 minutes between them since the 8th of December in the shape of Billy Vunipola in a Saracens warm-up match against Ealing Trailfinders. So it was there. Scotland understood the opportunity, and they're now just 4 minutes away from making history as only the second team to win here in 50 years.
Well, there have been some grand Scottish performances over the years. I think of David Soul's Scotland, they were outstanding. In more recent times, we saw a wonderful performance by the Scots just 3 years ago up at Murrayfield when Finn Russell was among the heroes. and Johnny May's put it down. Well, that wouldn't have happened in November. He produced the brightest moments in the Autumn Nations Cup. But that, in microcosm, sums up England's afternoon.
What a mistake for the Gloucester man to make. The smile from Hugh Jones, understanding the significance. It was a free kick, it was a kick to nothing for Scotland. It was all just about field position. They would have expected to receive a kick back from Johnny May. But he got his basics wrong there. He kept his chest square to where the ball was coming. He jumped up, lost his balance, knocked it on. And Scotland now 3 minutes away from history. And now it's just about composure. It's about building pressure. And it is about trying to generate a penalty that can be the opportunity to extend this lead and put this match to bed.
There goes Steele. Yet another powerful carry from Scotland. That's Steele again feeding the ball out. 2.5 minutes to go for the men in blue. For each of these players, it'll surely be the biggest moments of their rugby career.
Use it!
Scotland poised to end a 38-year drought.
No. Second man.
Hamish Watson taking it in. The clock says 2 minutes. Cummings. Through the mist and rain of southwest London, the finish line is starting to appear on the horizon.
Just need to keep the shape, keep the discipline around the clear-outs. Win that body height, win the race over the top of the ball for Scotland here. And keep your feet, don't dive off your feet. Andrew Brace will have an eagle eye on Scotland going off their feet.
You're off your feet, Seven.
Well, that's Tom Curry being told he was off his feet.
Stay onside, England.
90 seconds remaining. It's Ollie Kebble this time. But it's not pretty. It's not ambitious. It's not enterprising. But under the circumstances, it's just what the doctor ordered. Or perhaps I should say just what Gregor Townsend ordered. A minute to go. 38 years. What a start this would be to their Guinness Six Nations campaign. Russell, it's charged down. Well, under the circumstances, that seemed almost reckless.
The ball's there. The ball is there. Hold.
Well, somehow the Scots have got away with it. It has been that sort of day for them. Well, it hasn't quite worked, but it's helping run down the clock.
It was the right idea from Scott Steele. It was the right idea, the right option. Just the bounce of the rugby ball went infield rather than towards the touchline. One final throw of the dice for England. One final opportunity. They're going to have to try and score a try here. 3 points isn't enough. They're going to have to break down this stubborn Scotland defence and create something the like of which they've not created all afternoon. They do have an opportunity though.
Much better.
Well, Stuart Hogg, just one of his 20 test tries, scored against England here in 2013. On that occasion, it was one of those Scotland defeats. Here, Duan van der Merwe, one of their newest recruits. His try separates the sides into the red numbers, but don't forget, this is exactly the situation they were in 2 years ago when George Ford went under the post. There's Robson. Scotland know they can't afford to infringe. One final chance for the men in white. Elliot Daly.
They just don't want to give away a penalty that can give England a line out and the opportunity to create them all. Force England to score from 55 metres by keeping the ball in hand.
Courtney Laws.
Hamish Watson's on that. He's got it.
Scotland have turned it. They've got the ball into touch. The whistle blows for the end of the match. What a day it is for Scottish rugby. Stuart Hogg man of the match. Can barely believe it. Finn Russell, as you might expect, taking it in his stride. Well, well, well. Scotland, famed for being slow starters, couldn't have got off to a faster start in this season's Guinness Six Nations Championship. They've beaten England at Twickenham by 11 points to 6. Well, you are the resident Scot, Rory. Give us some sort of sense of how much this means up there in North Berwick and up there on the Forth Bridge. Well, they must be dancing in the streets.
Well, I think probably half of the Scottish population have never seen this, never seen a Scotland win down at Twickenham. And actually, in a funny way, the Scotland players would wish that there were crowds in this ground. They believed that crowds or not, they could come down here and win. Their skipper, Stuart Hogg, led from the front all afternoon long. It was a game of small margins, but actually when you look at the stats rarely tell the full story. But England had to make 174 tackles, Scotland 92. Scotland dominated possession 63% to 37%. They had the lion's share of territory. They looked the better side. I don't think anybody could argue that Scotland weren't the better side this afternoon. And they have got the result that they thoroughly deserve, and it will mean an awful lot to the 5 million people north of the border and all around the world who are listening into this commentary this afternoon. England will be hugely disappointed. They've missed the opportunity. They would have been fully aware of the scare that Scotland could give them here, the quality of this Scotland side, but they didn't show up. They did not turn up with the quality that they needed to be able to win this Calcutta Cup Test match, and boy has it started Scotland's championship on the front foot.
And if we look at key periods during the match, Rory, I guess Scotland were feeling a little bit disappointed that they didn't make enough of that early period of domination. But I guess when you look at it, was perhaps the most important period how they managed the 10 minutes with Finn Russell in the sin bin.
Yes, definitely. I think particularly the first 7 or 8 minutes of that second half, adding to the first quarter of the match as well, because at the end of the day, the first quarter of the match, Scotland really did well. They found comfort in the game. They made good decisions. They did the right thing, and they built pressure on England, not necessarily on the scoreboard or what they deserved on the scoreboard, but they did what it took to be able to get the scoreboard into a position and build themselves into the game whereby youngsters like Cam Redpath could settle. George Turner and his arrows were good, and all of the experienced heads in there laid the platform for Scotland to succeed on. And it took a big performance, but Scotland have done it and they have made history.
Well, the heroes of 1983, the last Scotland team to win, the likes of Peter Dodds, Jim Pollard, Jim Rennick, Keith Robertson, Roger Baird, John Rutherford, Roy Laidlaw, Jim Aitken, Colin Deans, Ian Milne, Tom Smith, Ian Paxton, Jim Calder, David Leslie, John Beattie. They were the 15 men who took Scotland to victory here in 1983. Scotland have their new Twickenham heroes. It has been a tremendous afternoon. Let's hear now from the man of the match, the Scotland captain, Stuart Hogg, who's speaking to Martin Bayfield.
Stuart, many congratulations. I bet you wish this place was full of Scotland fans, but you could almost sense them cheering in every corner of the world having watched this game. Any win in the Six Nations is significant, a win over England even more so, but the 38-year gap between the previous win here at Twickenham must make this an incredibly special moment for you and your team.
That's amazing for us. I think we can't repeat what's happened in the past. That's gone, but we're very much in control of what can happen in the future, and we said that, and we believed in each other from the very beginning, and to a man we were outstanding today. Credit to England, really brought it to us, but we stood firm defensively, and we took our opportunities when they were offered in attack as well.
Control seems a very appropriate word, because you controlled that game. The possession was hugely in your favour, territory was in your favour, and you forced England to make so many penalties.
Yeah, we got excited during the week. We knew we could come down here and put in a performance, and you know, if we got everything right, then we gave ourselves every opportunity of winning. And as I said, we stood firm defensively, and that was the kind of winning the game. We looked after the ball in attack. We went for multi-phase and caused England problems, and that's what we're about. Look, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves now. We're going to enjoy this one, I can assure you. But then it's on to Wales next week.
Well, what about Cameron Redpath making his debut today? He had a strong performance.
Outstanding talent. You know, absolutely delighted he's a part of our team, and you know, he's brought a huge amount of energy and skill set to this team, and I'm absolutely delighted for him.
Well, many congratulations as the winning captain, but also, of course, as the Guinness man of the match. Many congratulations.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Well, Rory, there have been one or two false Scottish dawns in the past. I'm sure Gregor Townsend will be sure to ensure it doesn't happen again. Well, a disappointing afternoon for England. Let's hear now from their captain, Owen Farrell.
Owen, clearly bitterly disappointed. That seemed to be a game you just couldn't get a foothold in.
Obviously that's a massive credit to Scotland first and foremost. The way that they played kept us out of the game. They got a good start and a fair bit of momentum off the back of a few penalties from us, and they got the try, and they kept us out from there on. No, it didn't seem like we could really get a grip of it.
It seems as though it was a bit more than just a few penalties. The game at times seemed impossible for you to control, because when you had positions that you could build on, you gave that possession back to Scotland. That's got to be infuriating.
Yeah, not just that. Give easy outs at times, but it's obviously something that we'll look at. It's obviously something that we're aware of going into the game, but we compounded them today.
At the breakdown, Scotland put you under pressure. At the scrum as well, Scotland put you under pressure. Were those areas that surprised you, that they had such dominance over you?
No, I mean the areas that we knew that they target were areas that we knew that we were going to have to be up there with our best. As I said, we didn't get a proper foothold in the game.
You had players who were dangerous. There was a lot of talk in the build-up to this game about getting Ollie Lawrence into the game, having him as your game breaker. It was almost an hour before he got his hands on the ball. I guess areas you're going to have to look at very, very carefully before the next run out.
Yeah, look, the whole game's joined up. We can talk about the attack, or we can talk about the defence, or we can talk about any sort of it, but it's all joined up. So we're going to have to look at the game as a whole and see the story of the game and see how we can get some momentum back quicker than we did today.
Oh, no, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.